Hi everyone, and welcome to my first ever This Week in Stream video. This is what I'm hoping will be a series where I can recap the big moments from my stream for the week so that if you miss them live or you don't have the time to lurk in my streams for 7 hours a day, or maybe you work like a boring bank job and you can't watch me stream during the day, you can still stay in touch and keep updated on all the things that I've been doing throughout the week. And like I said, this is hopefully a series. I would love for this to be a regular weekly thing, but we're taking things one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one stream at a time. Hopefully this becomes a thing, but if not, we're just trying things. We're allowing ourselves the space to fail, but also hoping for the best. So before we jump into the recap of the week, I have to just say up front, we're going to be talking a lot about the game Another Crab's Treasure. If you're not familiar with that game and you don't want spoilers, maybe now is the time to turn off the video. I apologize for that, but that was most of the content that we made this week. And I know that it's weird that I'm starting this series like towards the end of a game that I've already been playing, but I don't get to choose when inspiration hits. And if I wait for the perfect time to start, that time will probably never happen. So we're doing the thing. We're doing it the way that it is. But again, this video contains spoilers. If you don't want spoilers for Another Crab's Treasure, now is the time to back out. Thanks. So just to give you a setup, if you're okay with spoilers, but you're not familiar with Another Crab's Treasure, it is a crab-themed underwater Souls-like game. It has all of these bright colors and goofy vibes and witty jokes, but it is also very much a Souls-like game. There are a ton of nods to Souls-like games in general. You're fighting ginormous bosses that hit like trucks. There's a lot of precision dodging and blocking and parrying and things like that. There's very creative platforming that involves a lot of backtracking and finding shortcuts and things like that. It feels very Dark Souls the whole way through. Even though the setting is crabs and you're under the ocean, it's very Dark Souls. Thematically, they do a great job of showing off like the beauty of the ocean, but also it is a world littered with trash. It is very much an environmental commentary the entire game through. Now, I've been cruising through this for a while, and last Friday I got to what I assumed was the final boss, and I died a few times to him. Just like once or twice, maybe 3 times max, maybe 4, I can't remember. How could I remember that type of thing?
Doing so good. No! Oh no! Oh, yep. Let's go! First try.
But when we got to the end of that, we found out that we were only like maybe halfway through the game. At this point, the game took a very existential turn. We ended up wandering through the dark a ton, and it was not exactly what I expected. And we ended Friday's stream finally making it through this massive dark maze where you have to like light up these glow sticks just to be able to see where you're walking, beating a boss, and finally getting to what is the equivalent of a bonfire. So now that you're caught up, let's jump into Monday. Monday, we continued our way into the dark, spooky ocean, a little bit brighter, but a whole lot more horrifying this time. Almost immediately, we found these ginormous crabs that shoot laser beams and are like fighting a kaiju. While I was fighting these things, I literally said, I feel like I'm fighting the monsters from Stephen King's The Mist.
I feel like I'm fighting the monsters from Stephen King's The Mist.
If you're familiar with that. And then once we were done with that, we just found a bunch more. And it took a long time for us to fight our way through this whole section. But eventually we did make it through. We ended up fighting the like second in command to what we thought was the final boss in the end. And after a couple of pitfalls there.
Yep, okay. And get healed, son. Let's go.
We were able to progress through and find what is called the Old Ocean. Now, this is a place that they had been hinting at the entire game, saying like, we think maybe it still exists, or like it's a myth of old. And it was really cool to get into this place that like had kind of been built into the lore of the world. Even though this game is very silly at times and is about crabs fighting with forks at the bottom of the ocean, this part felt like you were actually stepping into like a myth, like stepping into history, like the Dark Ages, but crabs. It's hard to explain, but it was very cool. Everything is bleached white. It was spooky, but in a completely different way, and this ended up being a ton of fun to fight through. We found some new platforming stuff. There was a lost joke in the middle of all of it, so sorry for that. But we eventually found our way to this castle called the Bleached City that would end up being the very final level of this game. That wrapped up the first half of the day for us. In the afternoon on Monday, we kicked off a sponsored stream with a game called Royal Match. I'm not going to say a ton about it here, but if it is not yet July 2nd and you'd like to jump in on that, you can find a link to download that game in the description. And that's what we did for the rest of the afternoon. We actually ended up ending stream a little bit early because my stream kept crashing, which is ironic because the whole reason we're doing this sponsored stream is to raise money so that I can build a new computer so that my stream will stop crashing so much. It's like poetry the way these things work out. And that brings us to Tuesday. On Tuesday, stream spoiler, we finished another Crab's Treasure, and it was not what I expected at all. We had a ton of platforming and fighting to do to make it to what I assumed, again, was the final boss. We actually fought the Old King in the Old City. I thought I was doing a great job. I did this long cheese strat where I was like, I'm gonna beat this boss first try, the final boss. I'm gonna beat him the first time around. I thought I was doing so hot. We finally beat him.
Let's go!
And it turns out he has a second form, because of course he does. They had been foreshadowing this in the game, and I don't know why I didn't think that it would possibly be a thing.
Never mind. No GGs. Oh!
So anyway, after a few attempts there, we ended up beating the king for real this time and flushing ourselves down the toilet, literally, until we found the bottom of the drain. I do want to take a moment to just note that this game is full of Easter eggs and all of these cute little things. There's great jokes all over the place. This is maybe my favorite one in the entire game.
The music. Oh my goodness. Do you hear this? It's a slowed down instrumental crab rave. I was like, I know this tune. I know this tune, I've heard this before.
And then right when we thought we had found the very end of the game, we found instead, of course, another boss fight. This is the third time that this has happened to me where I thought that I was fighting the final boss. I will say this one had a little bit of heartbreak right before it started, and the boss fight itself was actually really cool. And of course, once I thought I had it done, it had, you guessed it, a second stage. And the second stage here was actually like a breath of fresh air or maybe a drink of clean water. It ended up being a bullet hell that kind of turned the formula of the game on its head. They had not done anything like this before. But once I figured out the gimmick of it, it was absolutely stellar to complete. I felt so good about it. And then in what I again assumed would be the final moments of the game, we had, drumroll please, a turn where we had to fight yet another final boss. If you're keeping track, this is the fourth time that I have thought that I was fighting the final boss. This time around, it's the capitalist simp character who's kind of been like a jerk the entire game and you thought maybe had a change of heart. And he decides to drop a whole island of trash onto the city, thinking that he's doing a good thing. So of course we have to put an end to that, which took a couple of attempts. And also the realization that of course they couldn't do it once, they couldn't do it twice, they had to do it 3 times.
Of course it's the two-stage.
Another 2-stage boss. This time around, we were able to beat the second stage on the first attempt, and this one was actually the very end of the game.
I think I get what Titan meant now.
Grill, hold on. Let's talk about this like adults.
Let's go!
I'm gonna be angry.
That
I
felt
might
really
as well
good.
Use it for something good, so that maybe one day other people won't have to fight like me.
I'm expecting 4 more
And
boss
what
fights.
better way to start than to beat up a selfish, greedy, muscle sucker like...
After a very, very anime ending that was very exciting, we found out that we kind of ruined the ocean. And we got to walk around a little bit in the destroyed city that we had been hanging out earlier in. We got a nice little wrap up with all of our end game characters, and then the game kind of surprises you with this little documentary section at the end. And I'm not actually going to show it to you because this is the point where I say I don't want to offer the spoiler. If you think that this game might be interesting for you, you should go play it. And if you're not interested in going and playing it, you should go look it up somewhere else. But I want to make you make that choice because I really think that it's worth seeing firsthand. The end of this game was just absolutely perfect to me. And honestly, like the whole game through felt very, very perfect to me. It felt like it was written for me in a kind of way. And I want other people to have that experience too. I will say I did cry at the end, which was not at all what I was expecting when I first started this game. So props to you, Another Crab's Treasure. You really did it. And it was at that point that I decided that I only had a few achievements left. I was gonna 100% complete this game. And, you know, just so you know, I'm not the type of person who 100%s games. I just don't do it. I actually don't know that I've ever gotten 100% of the achievements for a game before, so this is kind of a big choice for me, but the game felt like it deserved it. I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to really round it out. So we did a bunch of backtracking through areas that I hadn't explored a ton. We found a bunch of resources and power-ups and items and abilities and things like that. And that's where we left it for the day on Tuesday. Which brings us to Wednesday. On Wednesday, we continued our quest to 100% finish Another Crab's Treasure, and we did it. Like I said, I think this is the first game that I have ever gotten 100% of the achievements on, and it felt so good. We ended up doing a ton of wandering around in the dark and like trying to find things that we had missed the first time. Eventually, we did find the things we were looking for. We also found this really slick platforming part that ended with the final shell that we were looking for that was, of course, the helmet from Dark Souls. It just felt like the perfect poetic bow on top of the game for us. After that, we just had to finish one optional boss that I had missed out pretty early in the game, and we crushed that dude. Easy peasy. I don't actually think that he did damage to us. The environment did damage to us, but I don't think that the boss did. And there we have it, my first ever 100% completed game, and I could not ask for a better game. This brings us to Wednesday afternoon, where not having any more crabs to play, we decided to jump into the brand new Palia update that had like a bunch of cosmetic updates and new rewards and things like that, which means we played a lot of Hot Pot. We played a lot of Hot Pot so that we could try to get some plushies out of the spin wheel that they added to the underground. We got at one point a medium-sized frog plushie, so now we've got 3 different sizes of that. We did some casual hunting, not really expecting anything, but just trying to kill time so that we could, you know, go back and play more Hot Pot. And then we ended up rounding out the stream with finally on a casual hunting trip.
Parallel parking, and they were like, just so you know, I got it! Finally! Oh, look at it! Oh! Yes! Oh my goodness, it's only been like 3 months.
Finally finding the last Cernuk plushie that we needed. I have been searching for this thing for weeks. And that felt like the perfect way to end the stream. So we played a little bit more Hot Pot, we played a little bit of music, and then we wrapped things up. Which brings us to Friday. On Friday, we jumped into, for the very first time, the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD remake, which I am very excited about because I never played Luigi's Mansion 2 the first time around. It came out as a DS game, and I just like didn't have it at the time. I was a kid. So I was really excited to jump into this game, and it was, I don't know. I'm recording this video on Thursday, so I'm going to pass it to Future Goop to explain what he thought of his first day of Luigi's Mansion 2. Take it away, Future Goop.
Thanks, Past Goop. Happy to help out. We played a full day of Luigi's Mansion 2 today, and I have to say, I absolutely loved it. It has a lot of the charm of both Luigi's Mansion 1 and 3. I can see a lot of the nods that were in 3 to 2 that I didn't really understand when I was playing 3 back in the day. And I really appreciate the nods to number 1 that have been going on like the whole time I've been playing it. I know that Luigi's Mansion 2 doesn't get reviewed as well as Luigi's Mansion 1 or 3, which I think are 2 of my favorite games of all time. And so I was really delighted to find that like not only did I enjoy this game, but I'm really excited to jump into it more. So that's the look at the week ahead. I'm planning on jumping into more Luigi's Mansion 2 next week, along with some other things. I think we'll also be playing a little bit of Pokemon Violet because I owe that for a sub goal reward, and it will be July, and we hit our sub goal for the month of June, which means we're going to be playing some Stardew Valley as well. Maybe not next week, but at some point we definitely will be. So look forward to that. Back to you, Past Goop, to wrap things up.
And there you have our first This Week in Stream video. I really hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun making this, and again, I am hoping to make this a regular thing in the future. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. If there are things you think I could make better or things that you especially appreciated about it, please leave a comment below. That would be really, really helpful for me. I want to make this like a really good series if we move forward with it. Thank you again for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. In the meantime, please do me the biggest of favors. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other. Have a good one. Bye.